Post-traumatic stress disorder is a diagnosis. It does not have to define who you are. But here's what I found happened for me. Your world contracts. You feel as though you're wearing out your family and your friends, and it's often not until you are neck deep in some of its symptoms that you realise that that's what you're experiencing. And it seems as though you cannot find your way out, and like nobody can find their way in either. Prior to your traumatic event, you were not all that conscious of yourself, were you? You just got on with life. You didn't have to keep an eye on where the needle was on your anxiety meter. You didn't even know you had one, right? Now, everything about you is so heightened, and yet paradoxically, at the same time, you feel so numb to the world around you. And you find that you're running on hyper all the time, or near hyper. And that's creating a range of chemicals that are coursing through your body that can trigger a chain reaction, that can increase your anxiety. And in turn, this plays into the uncertainty that you're already feeling. And before you know it, you're at a place in your mind that tells you that you're stuck. And you're stuck no matter what you do. It's a vicious cycle, isn't it? And you certainly don't feel in charge of any of it. One of the first things that seems to happen to us is that we leave our bodies, so to speak. It's like we start to feel as though we are living in a bubble, or on the outside of the life that we had before the event. Or if you're like me, where the trauma occurred early in your life, you will have always have felt like this. Absolutely none of it is rational, and in my case, all of it made me feel less than. It kind of just made me generally feel inadequate. And it was more than I knew myself to be. And I felt very much on the outside of my life. Slowly, my life got smaller and smaller. I went out less and less. My friends became fewer and fewer. And I guess I got a lot grumpier and a lot more fearful and felt more and more powerless. I'm guessing by this you would have had some sort of medical diagnosis, and you may have sought various kinds of treatment which would have resulted in varying degrees of relief, or perhaps none at all. You may be here because you are still searching for relief, and you're checking everything out, everything that's possible. Or you may have noted the words spiritually based counsellor, and they have resonated with you. For all the help and treatment that you've had, it still feels as though there's something missing though, isn't there? Something that you cannot quite put your finger on, but you know that it is missing. Some intrinsic part of you that says you are you. For me, after much searching, I found this piece to be my spiritual connection. So I work with a spiritual aspect, because for me it was this that connected me back to that part of myself that I thought was missing. Traditional methods for treating post-traumatic stress, whilst tremendously important, did not seem to be dealing with this void, this gap, this sense of loss of myself. So much of it was about putting a band-aid on, giving a psychological explanation for, or even putting some logic to it, and logic to what I felt was happening to me in my world, in the real world. And whilst all of it made perfect sense, none of it came nowhere near explaining the longing that I felt that I had in my heart for who I was. And this longing started a journey for me. And I began to look around and to look at who I thought was happy and content. Who was it that seemed to have their life together? And what I saw was that there was this common thread, and that thread was that there was some form of spiritual connection. And that this spiritual connection was there regardless of what had happened to these people. That they had a connection or a respect for something that was bigger than themselves, the universe, God, or nature. And that gave them a sense of not being alone, of being connected to others, of having a purpose, of having a place in the world, particularly their world, that world that was around them. And I'm not talking about religion here. So I went in search of this for myself through various different types of therapies. And I discovered, to my amazement, that I had not lost this part of me. It had just been buried under the chaos of all that had happened. For me, it has been my reconnection to my spiritual self, to the core of me, that has made the biggest difference. Has this connection solved all my issues? No, heavens no, not at all. But what it has done, it has given me a sense of who I am again. It's shepherded me away from all the drama of the diagnosis, the fear, the loss. And it's pointed out that fundamentally I am still here. That the core part of me, the one that knows life and wants connection, is still there. It just needs to be seen again. And with this renewed sense of myself, of my core, I'm able to gain strength and so much hope to keep moving through the days and the weeks. And this hope helps to centre me, particularly when the days are long and things are getting bumpy. My spiritual connection fostered that hope, and it now grows within me, and it's made me realise that maybe this was not all a one-way street, that I could have a say, and my life did not have to be about the stuff that was happening to me, that there was this part of me that actually had a voice, that was not just about dealing with the diagnosis, but it craved a life apart. And this voice seems to know my likes and my dislikes, my deepest fears, my greatest challenges, my stubborn streak, my funny bone, and the source of my joy, and the source of my truth. And it also saw through my protective lies. It is through this personal experience that I'm able to offer a counselling approach that is grounded in empathy and understanding for empathy and understanding for what you are going through. There are still the odd moments of dread, but overall the quality of my life is now heading in a much more wholehearted direction. So for me, a spiritual approach has been vital. So if that rings a bell for you and you would like to explore it more, please contact me and let's have a chat and take it from there. And you can find all the details on this website and at the end of this video.